Ready. This meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons? Here. Mrs. Shandy? Here. Mr. Wilbur?
Here.
Mrs. Yanez? Here. Mr. Salt?
Here. The Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be led by me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Matson-Bonet, are there any updates to the agenda?
There were updates to the agenda. The board was notified of these.
Thank you. Members of the board, are there any items you wish to move from the consent agenda? Are there any discussion items to be added to the agenda? May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons? Aye. Mrs. Shandy? Aye. Mr. Wilbur?
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez? Aye. Mr. Salt?
Aye. Tonight's board quote is mine. It's from Benjamin Franklin. It says, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." So I thought that was a great quote as we're coming back. So, all right. Anybody have any more comments they'd like to share this evening? Ms. Collins.
I briefly just wanted to share with all of you, if you didn't hear, the FBLA Future Business Leaders of America state competition was Monday and Tuesday, awards yesterday. And just want to share what the staff at Pine Creek sent to me. This is just the results from Pine Creek. All of our D20 schools did amazingly well at the state FBLA conference. We also have national qualifiers from Air Academy, Liberty, DCC, and Rampart. And that includes, if I counted correctly, 20 of the 49 Pine Creek students are going to nationals. So just to go on, that was the forward email section. The original email said all of our students are amazing. They came off spring break ready to compete at state FBLA, and boy did they show up. We took 49 students to the conference and had an extremely high percentage in the top 10. And 20 students placed in the top 4 qualifying for the national conference in Orlando this June. And just want to scroll down here. Additionally, we received the Peak 5 Award, the highest chapter involvement award possible. And we have Pine Creek's first FBLA state officer. So that's Junior Lauren Anderson is the Vice President of Progress for Colorado for next school year. So congratulations to all those students and all their advisors that led them that way.
That's great. Thank you. Board, any other comments this evening? All right. I just wanted to say welcome back from spring break. Hope everyone had a great relaxing time. Let's finish strong. Superintendent comments. We're going to start with Mr. Smart. I believe you had a little something you wanted to say tonight.
It's on. All right. So this is matching my record. 7 administrators were in it. One of us were 2 things, so kind of 80. So I still want to get credit, even though she was trying not to give me credit.
Okay, so we're just going to get going here. So first, I'd like to introduce Jenna Skipstat, who's being recommended as the assistant principal for Memphis.
Cuppus Heights Elementary School. Starting off bang. Her husband would have been here, but he's traveling tonight, so he couldn't be here. So, okay, just want to
say close there.
Jenna holds a Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education from Bemidji State, but everybody knows it's Bemidji State in Minnesota, which is also home of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox. So, education tonight, happening all around. Master of Science in Education Leadership from Western Governors University. She began her career in D20 as a guest teacher. Thank you for doing that. And in High Plains Elementary, where she was a kindergarten and 3rd grade teacher, a Top 1 coordinator. Then moved on to Cuppus Heights Elementary, where she was a 3rd grade teacher, math coach, MTS coordinator. Not all of the same. And currently she serves as the interim dean of students at Cuppus Heights. So we're pleased to recommend Jenna tonight as for the position of assistant principal in Compass Heights. Jenna, is there anything you'd like to say? Palm Beach.
Thank you for the continued opportunity to serve District 20. Thank you to our Board of Education and our Superintendent. It brings me great joy to be at Compass Heights to continue growing the Huskies. And to all of the Huskies, I love working with you. I love that we work so hard to be a village that inspires students.
All right, next I would like to introduce Leanne Lawrence. Leanne Lawrence was also one of our cohort members a couple of years ago. And I'd like to recommend her for the assistant principal for Academy International Elementary. She is joined this evening by her husband, Robin, and her son, Landon, was going to come, but he said, I'm kind of too tired to come to that. And her son, Evan, is at baseball practice, because if he was at an age, he would have the app on right now watching Progress game. So Leanne holds a Bachelor's of Arts in French from Lewis and Clark College and a Master's of Education from Regis University. She began her career in Fountain Valley School as Assistant Director of Admissions. Then, oh boy, this is a hard word, Shimo Yoshida. Where's she? Is that close? Okay, that is in, she's like, no, I'm not even going to say the name of the place in Japan, but it's in Japan, okay, so that ought to help you out there. As an assistant language teacher. And then in District 20, she was at Academy International as a second and third grade French immersion teacher. And then at Rock Rimmon as a first grade teacher. And then she went back to Japan. I'm not going to try to say the name of that one either. As a preschool English language instructor. Then came back to D20. Notice she's just kind of going, back and forth to Japan. She then was at Rock Rimmon as third grade teacher. And then became the IB coordinator. And then she went to Mountain View Elementary School as the MTSS coordinator for behavior and SEL. And currently she serves as the interim assistant principal at SCP. Please introduce her tonight for the position of assistant principal at Academy International. Leanne, anything you want to say? She's been waiting a long time.
I feel like there's not a lot to say because Mr. Smart said so much, but I would first like to thank Laura McNally, the principal at Academy International. As Mr. Smart said, I started my career there 22 years ago, so it holds a very special place in my heart. It's kind of like going home, and I look forward to serving the community, the students, the staff there. And I would like to thank the board, Superintendent Haber. Thank you so much for believing in me and for providing me with this opportunity. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the instructors for Cohort 8. They poured so much time, love, and energy into us, and I know I would not be standing here without your support. And really, I need to thank my husband. When he says we got this job, he's not kidding. He still is mopping those tears off his shoulder from the past couple of years as I've been on this journey. So I would love to thank my husband, Robin, and of course my two beautiful boys. So thank you all for this opportunity, and I really look forward to working at Academy International. Thank you.
Okay, before I introduce this next one, it may get a little loud in the room because we have a few folks over here that are here to represent and encourage this individual. I'm pleased to introduce Coy Schatzer. You guys can go ahead and share. There you go. Who is recommended as the assistant principal for Foothills Elementary School. Go Falcons. Coy started his education. He got his Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from the University of Wyoming. Go Pokes. All right, and a Master's of Arts in Special Education from Regis University. He began his career in D20 after a historic career at Blockbuster. If you guys remember that store. Then he came to D20. So Foothills Elementary, SPED Para and CSD program, then an instructional para for reading, and then a SPED teacher in effective needs. And then at Discovery Canyon Campus Middle School as a dean of students. And he currently serves as the assistant principal at Eagle View Middle School. Coy, is there anything you'd like to say? Thank you.
I would just like to say thank you to the board, Superintendent Heber, first and foremost. But I also want to say I've had some great mentors in my life. I had Dean Perez back there whose door was always open to me. Had some great conversations that helped me in my career. I was able to go to DCC. I also had Brandon Comfort previously at Foothills Elementary. And unfortunately, you know, at Eagle View, I love it there, and I'm sad to leave the community since I was an 8th grade graduate. But I have a quote that I live by. I'm a firm believer in luck. The harder you work, the more you have. And luck, be it, I get to return and work for an amazing leader who took over, Julie Lasano. And unfortunately, my personal family is not here. But as you can see, I'm lucky enough to get to return to my Foothills family. And if you ever want to feel welcome and loved, just look at this. So, Julie, I'm excited to get to work with you.
All right, this next individual is actually is two positions because we were going to introduce her previously for the one she's currently in, and now we're going to introduce her for the one she's going into in July. So this is Becky Buchanan. She's currently serving as the interim special education administrator, so you can for that. And then now she's going to be going into for the beginning of next school year, the assistant principal for Legacy Peak Elementary School. So she's a 2-for-1er tonight here. She is joined by her husband Blake and her daughter Parker, where's her daughter? Look at that cute little girl. All right. Becky holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Spanish Language and Literature from the University of Colorado Boulder, a Master's of Arts in Early Childhood Special Education, ages 3 through 8, from George Washington University, and a Master's of Education in Education Leadership from George Mason University. She began her career in Fairfax County Public Schools as a kindergarten teacher, then a SPED teacher, MTSS team member, lead mentor, and administrative intern. So she was very busy while she was there. And then she came to D20, started an academy endeavor as a SPED lead teacher and a special education program facilitator. She's again currently serving as an interim SPED administrator, and we're pleased to recommend her for the assistant principal at Legacy Peak Elementary School. Anything you'd like to say?
Tall as Mr. Smart. Thank you, Superintendent Haber, and thank you, Board of Education. To Dr. Lujan Lindsay and to Principal Paris, thank you for trusting me with these opportunities. To my mentors, Dr. Harris, Director Stewart, Principal Hansen, and Principal Korb, thank you for building my capacity and helping me become a leader and letting me take this opportunity tonight. My heart has always been called to education. Schools are always kind of where I felt like my second home is. So I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to connect further with our students in preschool, special education, and my Legacy Peak family that I'm excited to join. So as I embark on this journey, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my colleagues and friends, but most especially my family. So my husband Blake, my daughter Parker, and my son Tanner who's at home. So I'm very excited for this journey, and thank you for entrusting me with this.
All right, we're down to 2 left here. So next, I would like to introduce Becky Harris, who is being recommended as the Executive Director for Learning Services School Leadership. Becky is joined this evening by her husband, Coach Tom, who is a PE teacher at Chinook Trail Elementary School. Just so you know, Tom likes pickup trucks and dodgeball, in case you didn't know. Right, okay. Becky holds a Bachelor's of Arts in English and Secondary Education from Colorado State University in Pueblo, Master's of Arts in Teaching from Colorado College in Colorado Springs, and a Doctorate of Education in K-12 Leadership from Jones International University. Becky began her educational career in District 3 as a high school English teacher, and then at Talbot Elementary School as assistant principal, and then Vettitucci Elementary as a principal, and then as a SPED administrator. She came to Academy District 20 to work as the principal at Prairie Hills, and then as a SPED administrator. And she's currently serving as the director for curriculum and instruction in special education. We're just happy to introduce her tonight for the position of Executive Director for Learning Services. Becky, anything you'd like to say?
Good evening. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'd like to thank Dr. Field, Superintendent Haberer, and the board. I am thrilled to continue to move forward in District 20. I love this district, and I am really excited to work with our principals in a new capacity. I think that we have outstanding leadership, and this is really an honor for me to get to do this job. So thank you.
You know what? I counted wrong. We actually have 2 more now, so sorry. Mr. Salt said I can only do 5, so anyways, but all right. So the next one is Tacey Killingsworth. I would like to introduce her tonight as a recommendation for the Executive Director of Learning Services School Leadership. Tacey is joined this evening by her husband, Dion. And I saw something, it was her birthday today. So happy birthday. I'm not sure if the age was right on the thing that was on her wall. It said 80. I don't think that's correct. But anyways, happy birthday. Tacey holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from Colorado State University Pueblo and a Master's of Arts in Special Education and Rehabilitation from the University of Arizona. Tacey began her career in Arizona as an early childhood SPED teacher, then came to Falcon District 49 as a 3rd grade teacher, and then as assistant principal at Springs Ranch Elementary School, and then moved to Harrison District 2 to become a principal at Sand Creek Elementary School, and then to Douglas County for the Director of Elementary Education, and then worked at UCCS as an instructor and coordinator for P through 12 Principal Licensure Program, and she currently serves as Director for Curriculum and Instruction. And so we're pleased to recommend Tacey tonight for the position of Executive Director for Learning Services. Anything you'd like to say, Tacey? Sure.
Good evening. First of all, thanks to Dr. Field, who always has believed in me from the very beginning. We started way back together in Falcon. Thank you for Superintendent Haberer, the opportunity, as well as the Board of Education. I've been a PSSG alongside my Director for Curriculum Instruction job for the last 5 years, and I love to be in schools. So like Becky said, this is just an honor to be able to impact more schools and be focused on teaching and learning. I want to thank my team, although they gave me a hard time for applying and leaving them. They've always been my biggest cheerleaders. And then my husband, Dion, who has supported me, and he said, honey, just go for it, whatever makes you happy. And I said, whew, I have you trained well. So thank you. I'm excited to start this new opportunity to continue to serve District 20.
All right. The last one here is I'm going to introduce Mark Belcher, who is being recommended as the Chief Communication Officer. Mark holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Journalism and Mass Communication from St. Bonaventure University. Mark began his career at News 4 in Buffalo, New York, and he's also a Buffalo Bill fan, you guys. And as a digital department lead, and then also he worked in Denver 7 as an executive producer and for digital. You know, and he told me, he goes, when he saw me, he goes, you know, I think you have a face for radio. So I'm not sure what that meant, but it's okay. It's okay. I feel that's all right. He also went to the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs for digital content, worked there for program director and interim director for communications. And he currently serves as a director of communications and public relations for Lewis Palmer School District. We're pleased to recommend him tonight for the position of Chief Communication Officer. Anything you'd like to say, Mark? Well, he should, he's in communication, so.
If he has a face for radio, I have a face for radio and a voice for print. There's a reason I was never on air. So it's good. I just want to say thank you very much to Superintendent Haberer, to our board, to our administration, members of the interview committee. Thank you for the trust that you're placing in me. I'm so looking forward. I'm energized. I'm excited by all that's ahead. As the proud parent of a soon-to-be, he's only 10 months old, but it's still soon to me. It goes way too quick. Soon-to-be District 20 student. I'm so looking forward to partnering with our families, our incredible staff, our community, and I'm excited to hit the ground running on April 16th. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for having me here.
All right, thank you. See you next time.
Thank you, Mr. Smart. Ms. Haber.
Yes, so our superintendent update, great happens here in D20. I would like to have Shelley Kuzer please come to the podium. We are recognizing her. She was the CalA Award winner for the whole state of Colorado from CASE as the Chief Information Officer for the state. So the CalA Dan Moss Technology Leadership Award is officially the award. Was named in honor of Dr. Dan Mass, an influential and inspiring leader in the field of educational technology and known among school districts across all of Colorado. A dauntless advocate for ed tech, Dan worked tirelessly to advance education through the use of technology. Likewise, the contributions that you have made, Shelley, have just been incredible. The way you use technology. I've recently had a chance to see Shelley Kuzer in action as far as she just recently put together a rather large technology committee to look into what is the future of D20 for artificial intelligence and the use of ed tech. And she and Lori Hartman also did all of the stakeholder meetings this time around AI. And just incredible leadership, 22 years now, I think, here in D20.
Yeah.
So Shelley, a very well-deserved award. Is there anything you'd want to share?
Well, thank you. Well, I have to say, I really am honored to receive this award because I knew Dan actually when I started in the district and I was new to education. Dan was a CIO for Littleton School District, and he really was a great mentor. And so to receive this award really does mean a lot to me. And I have to say, I've been very fortunate in this district because I've had an opportunity to put in great programs. And with that, I mean, I couldn't do it. My team is the rock star, and they're really the reason why they make me successful. So, and of course, I'd be remiss if I did not, mention my colleagues who really, they also support and really, the entire board and Ginger, I appreciate everything you do. So, and last but not least, my husband, he is the support and makes sure that I get where I'm going every day with a lunch.
Awesome.
So I really want to say thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you. And Shelley, during the break, we want to get a good picture with you too.
All right.
Another huge celebration is that, let me see here. Oh, did I do it? There we go. A huge thank you to Becky Allen and her whole finance team. They won the ASB Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting, which is a huge award. Ms. Allen, would you like to come up and say something about your team and this award?
Congratulations, Shelley. That's very much appreciated. It fits you and everything that you do to contribute here. The faces that you see, I would say, look at all the faces but me up there, and that's really who owns this award. Kathy and Tony and her team work so hard every day. They have the highest standards of competence and work ethic. And they truly live every day that they are the stewards of the taxpayers' money. And so it's just my privilege that I get to work with them. So congratulations to that team and thank you for recognizing them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And yet another amazing award, and that is that congratulations to Rich Payne, Director for Security, for being named for this year's one of K-12 School District Campus Safety Director of the Year. He is a finalist. And then winners of the Director of the Student Award are going to be announced at the 2024 Campus Safety Conference in Atlanta, Georgia, July 8th through 10th. So congratulations, Rich, and we are all rooting for you for that award. Let's give him a hand. Another group of someone that I believe are unsung heroes are our facility management group. They are truly amazing. I had a chance to be there recently during one of their staff meetings. I caught them at the end and just thanked them for their service. When we had the fire that was out on the Air Academy, Mike Redmond and his team were there like before we even had a chance to call him, shutting the dampers in both Doug Valley and at the Air Academy High School to ensure that the smoke didn't get in. And because of their swift action, we were only had to stay out of Doug Valley for a day, and we were able to bring the students back. The fire came a little closer to the high school, and yet he was in there with his team, scrubbing things right away, directing some professional crew that we had, all of his team, and we were able to bring the high school students back in 2 days, which was phenomenal. And it was really due to Mike and his whole team. And then the snowstorm, right? While we were all inside on Thursday when it was coming down sideways, his team was out there shoveling snow. It was really heavy. They did that all day on that Thursday. That Friday came in on the weekend as they needed to, just to make sure that we were ready to go and that snow was out of the way for Monday when we came back. And that was also the week that the Department of Defense came out to look at the sites. So they went out to Chinook Trail Middle School and purposely went and cleaned everything on Thursday so that we could go there on Friday. So just a huge thank you. We just really, D20 and our greatness is about our people. And this is just an example of the excellence that's here in D20. So we had a wonderful visit by the Department of Defense, the PSMIP, which is the name of the grant program that they are offering to pay 80% and the district pays 20% of either doing a remodel or a rebuild of Douglas Valley Elementary and Air Academy High School. It was a 3-day visit, which is huge because they don't normally come out 3 days. And they wanted to see both projects, and they were very impressed with what we, with the grant proposal, first of all, and thank you to Becky and Mike and Chris and her whole team, because they said that that grant proposal was so good that's going to be used as an exemplar for other districts. So that was huge. We started at Encompass Elementary, since we wanted to see what were some of the standards that we have here in D20 around what new buildings should look like. And a huge thank you to Jenny Sturck for taking us around and showing us that beautiful building at Encompass Heights. And best of all, we got to be with kinder kids, and I think we went to a preschool classroom, so we appreciate that. And then we went over to Doug Valley Elementary School. And there's quite a contrast, obviously, between Encompass Heights Elementary, which is brand new, and then Douglas Valley. And I will have to say I went to Douglas Valley one time, and Adrian's like, oh, let me show you something. And I think I counted at least 2 buckets that were collecting rain because it was coming through the roof. So definitely we need to do something as soon as possible to be able to give Douglas Valley and her students the kind of school that we need. And so that was really good for the team to see. And they are really on board with the PK8 model. As we did more research, we learned that there's a waiting list for the preschool that's there on campus, on the Air Academy campus. They're really excited. The DoD team was really excited about the possibility of having preschool students go to our PK8. So that would open up more opportunities for our military families to have their students in preschool. And then the 6-8 portion, it's not a middle school, it's a PK8, right? So we are going to add 2 to 3 sections of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade to the school, because what we know about our military families is they can often have to move around a lot. And to provide this option, especially if they have a 4th or 5th grade student and they get all nestled in there and feeling comfortable with being on the Air Force Academy campus, and then in 6th grade, for some of them, it's kind of hard to be able to get on a bus and have to ride 30 minutes to Eagleview, which is an amazing school. But for just to add some more stability and just another option for military families, they were very supportive and very excited about the PK8. So we got great feedback from them, and we, after looking at it and looking at infrastructure, the grant that we're putting in is for a rebuild, for a brand new school. The way that we have the campus, and I'm going to invite Dan and Adrian to come up and speak here in a minute, but we have room for the students to continue to be at Doug Valley while we would be building a new school because of the room that's there. So that is awesome. Then we also had a chance to go to Air Academy, and that is Liz Wellhoff there in action. She's super excited about the career academies, especially the aviation pathway that we're putting in place there. We had a chance to visit with Allie Johnson, and she's amazing with her entrepreneurship, career pathways, and the team was really excited about that opportunity when we look at it, putting together a new high school to include expanded space, not only for the career academies, but also speaking with Colonel Hubert and really providing a bigger space for the JROTC program. And so that was a great visit. They were excited about those opportunities. And then a thank you to Tom Andrews for coming in during a snow day on that Friday. He gave us a great tour of Chinook Trail Middle School, which was one of the newer buildings as well. And they were so impressed with the standards that we have here in our district for new buildings. And it gave them a good idea to see exactly what that looks like. And that was the whole group there on the left. And really, thank you, Director Shandy and Director Yanez. Really appreciated you guys. You guys hung in there for the whole day. We did all the presentations virtually, and it really meant a lot to have you guys there and to hear about the program. So thank you. Thank you to our business partners. We had Ann Caesar from UC Health and Lindsay Pack from InnovaFlex. I think that Seth Harvey from BlueStack would have been there, but he had something come up last minute. So we had business partners there who were right alongside us, talking about how excited they were about Air Academy and Doug Valley. And by having a PK8, the other thing we'd like to do is maybe move one of those white vans that we have and keep it up there on the campus so that our 8th grade students in particular, if they wanted to go kind of back and forth between the high school, maybe to access maybe higher level math classes or CTE opportunities, they would have the opportunity to do that. So we're very excited about this possibility. I will say that when they went through and they looked at the high school, they took us to the boiler and those places. I'm like, yeah, those look old, but they really are. And they knew a lot about the infrastructure. So basically the team said that they would have a real hard time supporting, and if we put it through, didn't think in the final end that they would be able to support a remodel for the Air Academy, but really we would need to do a brand new high school. So that's good news, and that's exciting, right? Because I even think, and I'll have Dan and Adrian come up, I think there was enough space there where they could start building of the new high school, and the kids would still stay there at Air Academy while that was going on. The cost of a brand new high school is maybe anywhere between $175 and $180 to $200 million. And so that would mean that our 20% might be close to 40 million, a little bit higher than that. And so we will be having some further conversations around what could we do in partnering with our community to be able to raise those funds. They were very clear that this isn't something that we probably want to wait on too long. And because we also know with construction costs, the costs only escalate, right, every year that you wait. And so Becky and I have already been talking together. We met with people who do our financial advising yesterday and are really looking at a plan to be able to bring to you about what we think we could do to be able to raise those funds. And it's, Dan, I know you've been waiting a long time for a brand new high school, and certainly the students there in Air Academy deserve that. So Adrian Murray, the principal at Doug Valley, and Dan Olson, would you guys like to come and just talk about the visit and what you're excited about?
So it's been crazy to think that this opportunity, though it was kind of out there since 2011, it never felt like it was going to come true. So to go from March of 23 to now, and to have already had a visit to have a proposal and to be moving forward, not only with just a remodel or with a remodel, but a full new building and bringing on a pre-K is an absolute dream. So our students obviously don't really know yet. Staff is really excited, asking lots of questions. It's going to be an incredible journey. The fact that our district has moved as quickly as we have and as gracefully into honestly the complete unknown has been a journey. Couldn't have done it without the help of all of our friends from USAFA. So thank you, Colonel Stallworth and your team. And it's great to have my buddy Dan walking the walk with me. What do you have to say?
Yeah, what an opportunity, to look at you know, the new builds and the new teaching stations and the way things are set up, it just really excites me about the possibilities on the west side. You know, what's really going to be exciting, the Foothills folks, you're the ones who are really going to benefit, because our kids that are currently there probably won't ever move into the new building, but our west side elementary school kids are going to get the best of the best. And we are so excited about it. I told the team, if you look at our school, if you look at our staff, if you look at our students, we have the best of the best. If you put a top-notch modern facility, we'll be the best high school in the state of Colorado, bar none. And that's where our goal is. And so we're excited about it. Thank you for the support. Thank you, Superintendent Haber. Our best days are ahead. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much for being here. And I do want to say thank you, Colonel Stallworth, too, because your leadership and your voice, Colonel Stallworth was there to give that USAFA perspective, and that went a long way, I think, with that with that DoD team. So thank you so much for your support. That really meant a lot. All right. Portrait of a Graduate. We had a great time. We have a stakeholder committee that have been meeting and taken all the data around the Portrait of a Grad suggestions that have come in, and we started to draw pictures of it. And we had students there, and the students actually help with the drawings. Some of the students are from the Superintendent Student Advisory team, but their creativity, students are just amazing. And I think the voice of students and how can we continue to promote student voice in our district is important. And they just did a stellar job. And of course, what do you see as a common theme? Mountains, right? The peaks. So we just got a draft back, and I think there's some improvements still we need to do with that after seeing the first draft. But we will be sharing this, our first study session. Our next study session, April, will be around the Portrait of a Graduate, and we're ready to bring what some of those final drafts are for your feedback, but we still will have plenty of room to do some revisions if we need to. So that's been a really exciting initiative this year. Just a few notes about my visits this year. I had a chance to go to Liberty. I couldn't help but take a picture of this beautiful vista that we can see, and that was the dance class that was there in the cafeteria. I had a chance to go to TCA. It was my first time to visit there, and Coach Daggett is up for the track and field coach of the year. So that was fun to congratulate him. Edith Wolford, fun as always. It was actually a CMAS day, so I felt kind of bad going on that day. But so we went to the specials, and this little girl with the Santa hat and goes along with the students that are up sitting on the ground, and you show the teacher showing the picture. This was a Spanish class. So what would happen is they had costumes outside the door, and the student had a chance to pick what they wanted. So she wanted to be Santa. And she knocks on the door and they say, "¿Quién es?" Who's it in Spanish? And she said, "Ho, ho, ho, Santa." And they have a chance to say, "Viene," to come in, or, to go away. And they wanted her to come in. Yeah, it was and they practiced it too before they came very forcefully, but they welcomed her in, which was a good sign. And then in the library, I had a chance to see, I want to say those were first graders with the VR experience. They had checked out the goggles and they were looking at the Washington Monument. They had done a study on that. They do the VRs, and then they actually write about it and write in their learning log around it. And so they were incorporating writing with technology, which I thought was fun. And to watch them with the goggles, that was just way too fun. And then I had another fun day at High Plains. Again, it was CMAS testing, so it was some of the electives, but they have a great climbing wall. The students are having a great time. This little girl on the right, she's like, "Please, I want a picture of me. I can just learned how to do a handstand." So took a picture there. And then the music class, they were doing a practice where it was because nobody listens to me or something kind of a thing. And then they go up from there. They were practicing for a performance. So that was really fun, and the kids were having a good time. All right. So then I need to make sure I get this right. We have lots of student celebrations. And so 2 students from Timberview Middle School, Maya Crater in 8th grade and Sydney Amadon in 7th grade. They did the Word Masters Challenge, and it's a national competition for students in grades 3 through 8. and it encourages growth in vocabulary and verbal reasoning. And each year, over 125,000 students from some of the best public and private schools in the state participate, and they won first place in Wordmasters out of 125,000 students. So that is huge. And then this was a great community event. I didn't have a chance to go, but really wanted to highlight it. Antelope Trails had their first pie night where they bring in pizza and dessert, and they invite parents to come in and share their feedback on 9 different topics at the school. So this is like a World Cafe kind of model. And they had about 45 parents and staff. She said my SAC members and her leadership team were at the table together with facilitators, and they rotated between the tables and gave the principal and all of the staff some really good feedback. And I know we want to be able to use the World Cafe model. We just recently met with a couple of our community members around that to see if they wanted to join us to put something together where we can start bringing people together around some common topics and start really continue that focus on building of community. And then I went to Little Mermaid, which was phenomenal at Air Academy, especially the the scenes with Ursula, the witch. I mean, it was all black light and creepy. It had the dry ice and all of that. It was really phenomenal, the play and the actors, and especially what the tech team did with the stage. So we had a career in tech education. A DCC high school student, Riley Gibson, passed his Part 107 exam, and he can now fly a drone commercially. And there was another student that just got his commercial drone license, Clark. He is one of the students in my student advisory with Superintendent 1. And so it is great. These students can literally go out and get some very high paying jobs this summer with their drone license, because different companies hire these students. So again, congratulations to Riley Gibson, and really a huge thank you to all the wonderful administrators there at DCC High School and the opportunities that they're giving our students. And then congratulations to Special Olympics gold medalist Jackson Reed. Jackson is a senior at Pine Creek High School, and he competes in multiple Special Olympic events, powerlifting and snowboarding. Powerlifting for the deadlift, Jackson won first in regionals and second in the state. And snowboarding in February, Jackson won first place in the Colorado regionals, novice slalom, and giant slalom races. And in March, Jackson won first place in the state novice giant slalom. So huge thank you to him and congratulations. And then just today, Derek and I had a chance to be at Legacy Peak, and I was so impressed that even during CMAS, Amber and the whole team, 5th grade team, was there to support the mayor, and he just did a great job with 5th graders talking about Colorado Springs. And what did he say, Director Wilburn, the first time, like, how many people do you think are in Colorado Springs? And students said 500, and then later they were like, he told them how many, and then they're like, oh yeah. So it was super fun, and he just did a really good job with that. So now if we have a drum roll, yes, I'd like to bring Dr. Smith up to say what the last day of school will be, the grand announcement. And Jim, I know this is I think this is your last board meeting too. So thank you.
This is my last board
So
meeting,
this is a famous way for you to end your career.
I feel like the most popular guy in the room right now. All right, so I'm pleased to share the final days of school for the 23-24 school year. For all seniors, the last day of school will be Friday, May 10th. All graduations will commence the following week. For all pre-K students, our last day will be Thursday, May 16th. For all other students, May 22nd will be the last day of school. Having e-learning days on snow days has definitely helped us with contact time. For teachers, the last work day will be Thursday, May 23rd. Thank you.
Yay.
Round of applause, please.
Yes,
Come on. Feel it. All right.
And board, we did have some people who had questions around e-learning, and thank you to Shelley Kuser for putting together some great data I sent to you around. We get a lot of usage, and the data really shows that we're getting a good turnout with students and along with assignments during those e-learning days on snow days. So Shelley, I appreciate your pulling that data. That was awesome. And that's the end of my superintendent update.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take, what time is it? We'll call it a 10-minute break so we can congratulate all of our new folks and take a couple quick pictures with Becky and Shelley. Motion to approve the consent agenda as posted.
Moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons?
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy?
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn?
Aye.
Mrs. Jenez?
Aye.
Mr. Salt?
Aye. All right, we are 31 attendees online, so. All right, next up, there are no items pulled from the consent, so we'll move on to our written reports. First item is the annual monitoring report for executive limitations, policy 2.7, employment compensation and benefits. Board, are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Shandy.
I had a question about 2.7.3. Because of the current interpretation and definition of terms, I feel like we're not actually measuring the directive. So I had a great conversation with Superintendent Haberer and Mr. Smart about that. And we talked about just changing our interpretations of some of the terms.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Do you want to talk about that, Cameron?
We can't hear.
It's not.
Hey, hang, whoa. Wow, that is loud. Okay, let me back up a little bit. Okay, so part of it is in the terminology that we have in the definitions is we talk about deviation, and when you look at what deviation means, it's actually different than what we're actually trying to achieve, which is being in a top quartile. And so we need to go back and relook at some of those to make those in a better alignment and better understanding, as well as probably look at some other sections of this EL to ensure that we're meeting the current needs of the market and in the situation that going on with staffing. So, but we're more than happy to put some recommendations together for you to review.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions related to this report? Mr. Wilburn.
So Mr. Smart, the data reported shows that only 4.8% of applicants declined the job offer for reasons related to salary. 5.8% of those who resigned did so because of salary, which is good. Do we have data on the remainder of those people?
You mean as far as why the other reasons they declined?
Correct. It's a survey, I assume, and there's that data somewhere.
Yeah, that survey, we can get that data. This is directly related to the questions that are asked in this EL, but there are other, if you were looking for other reasons that were outside of the scope of salary, we could pull those reasons as well.
I think that'd be good to know.
Yeah, it's just not asked for in this report, but that could be something we could also look to add if you're looking to do that as we make any changes to this.
Okay, I'll send you a note.
Yep.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, we will work on the MRE now. Is the superintendent's interpretation of the policy reasonable? I think with the understanding that we're going to change the definition on that, I think that's the only change at this point. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Aside from the
mod.
Are all sections in compliance? We noted. Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring cycle?
Yes.
So we're talking about the interpretation or the definitions changing, not necessarily the policy changing.
Oh.
So I think is that true?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And do you see any evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? All right, thank you. Next up is item B, draft student fee schedule for 24-25. Were there any comments or questions on that?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Shandy.
Just had a quick question for Mrs. Allen about how fee rates are determined, and if we could do a quick brief overview of that, like we talked about, that would be great.
So each year, is this okay? All right. So each year we publish one fee schedule, and it is the one that the board approves. And within that year, for the upcoming year, so you'll approve a fee schedule now. So for next school year, these are the fees that are able to be levied and the max amount that a school may charge. And we only do this one time a year. So schools know, for transparency and to meet the law, that these are well published and in advance. So what happens about mid-year is I put a notice out to schools, departments, and to our administrators in our schools to say, would you please review the fee schedule and let me know of any changes? So we don't go through the fee schedule and just think, gosh, let's apply a 7% escalation, or this hasn't been touched for a few years. So it's all prompted by requests from those who are levying this fee. When they do that, they give me the reasoning behind it as well. I'll give you an example. In the fee schedule, you'll notice that there were an increase to hockey fees as an example. Ice time is extremely expensive, and in fact, that was one of the items that prompted some of the discussion around reducing the number of district teams. When there were meetings with parents, parents said, we recognize that ice time is very expensive. We'd even love to pay more to support that to keep the two teams. So Ron Alexander, the Director for Athletics and Activities, he says, hey, Beck, we'd like to increase this dollar amount. And then we also make sure that the principals are on board with that particular change. Club fees sometimes go up. There's one, Iris and Mario is what it's called. It's a club. And the fee went up $5 because expenses have changed. So that's why in some areas you see absolutely no changes. And in some, the rhyme or reason, one is $5, one might be a $200 increase because it's very situational to what that particular piece is.
Thank you, Mrs. Allen.
Thank you.
Ms. Cons.
Just a quick comment to our principals and staff, because I believe your report, the fee report stated that some of the fees can be reduced for kiddos on free and reduced lunch.
Yes.
And just want to keep plugging away that I believe most of our principals and front office staff in their emails to families
Yes.
Allude to this to make sure folks are applying when they need to for free and reduced lunch. But just to make sure that note gets out to every family that a lot of other fees can be assisted with besides lunch.
Absolutely. And Ms. Cons, I really appreciate you bringing that up because, as you know, we had a proposition on the ballot last year that made lunch free for all students. So some folks think, I don't need to fill the application out because it's called free and reduced lunch. That is simply the technical name for the application, but that is the gateway to support for other activities as well. So I appreciate that comment. The only other thing I would add to the variety of fees is when Ms. Killingsworth and her team come to present new course proposals, there are also fees associated with those, and those get incorporated in the schedule as well.
Thank you. Board, any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Allen. Next is the DAC report of school resource priorities for the school year 24-25. Board, were there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Yanez.
I know we have Mrs. Stevens here. Yeah. I know you put a lot of work into this, and so we just wanted to ask, do you have like a top 5 kind of priority concern or that you want to share?
Yes, thank you very much. So one of the things was that whole Title I funding, maintaining programming and staffing despite declining Title I dollars. That's a huge deal. That was mentioned many, many times by many different principals. And that free and reduced lunch education piece is a part of it because families don't know that that will cover fees. And so it's just really important that that message gets sent out. That helps take some of the pressure off of the principals as well and their money that they have for things. We also talked a lot about centralizing technology funding and providing uniform tools that maximize economy of scale, including tools related to literacy and math intervention. this came up many times in many different areas. So it's basically trying to centralize things in a meaningful way. So if we have programs that are being used at multiple sites, like IXL, other subscriptions, software, that we try to maybe centralize that and have an all district license for that, so that we're not having every school pay for things that maybe every school is using and they're all paying individually. So, and that same centralization came in with the deferred maintenance and district-wide facilities maintenance plan, that it would be a great idea to start looking at having a meaningful rotation of projects that are going to need to happen. We know that gym floors need to be replaced. We know that other things need to happen on a rotating basis. So maybe if we start looking at, okay, we know that this school is going to need to be done this year and it's going to be need to be done 10 years from now. So what schools can we fill in so that there's just more foresight into what's going to need to happen and how money is going to need to be spent. And then the last thing that came up time and time again in every single category was that we need to support students experiencing behavior challenges, anxiety, or trauma. There are some big issues that are still happening and it's taking away from learning. So we need to make sure that we have the support of counselors and MTSS specialists when there are things that are having to do with behavior, and just being able to pull kids out in another, again, a meaningful way to make sure that learning is still occurring. And so those support systems remain in place. So those were the things that kind of happened, reoccurred again and again in every single feeder strand and by multiple principals. So those are things to really think about in particular.
Thank you. Ms. Inez?
I wanted to speak to that last point because something you said reminded me when we were up in Denver, we got to sit and listen to the Attorney General speak. And a lot of the questions in the room, he was kind of sharing different laws and bill that were kind of on the table. And finally, we started talking about behavior. Like everyone in the room started talking about the rise of behaviors and the reduction in resources, right? And he said something that has stuck with me. And he said, we need to start thinking like entrepreneurs in school districts, right? Because funds are tight and we don't have enough of those resources. And so that has really challenged me. He talked about partnerships with community health and how can we get people, it can't be all the time on our back, right? Like we have to reach out and get some help. And so thinking like an entrepreneur, I got excited with that.
Well, I will also say that one of the things that was discussed was that a lot of the tutoring programs are going away because there's not the money from ESSER funds that are going to fund those anymore. So one of the things we had talked about was maybe having students who need volunteer hours that are academically related, like kids who are in NHS and have to have that time, maybe start doing tutoring after school. That helps kind of create a mentorship program also between the kids and the students that are older than them. And we talked about in our meeting that, remembering when we were younger, when older kids would come, what an impact that had and you still remember that. That's one of the things I remember from elementary school. So we thought that might be a good way to help solve a couple of issues. If there's more of a mentorship program, it helps resolve some of those volunteer hours and it takes care of the ESSER funding that's being cut. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Board, any other questions or comments?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wilburn.
Thank you, Mrs. Stevens. I think you're one of the, if not the only non-employee that gives reports here, and you really know your stuff. You spend a lot of time on this. One of the latter pages of the report, I think is 4 or 5 maybe, talks about high priority capital needs. And we get that's a bit of a wish list sort of thing, but a couple of them really do kind of pop out. And the first one that popped out to me is consistent snow removal. And it'd be nice to know, is that generic or is that specific to certain campuses? Where are we running into that problem?
It's specific to certain campuses. It's more specific. Yeah. A lot of those are kind of wish list things. Right. And but the people who have been on the DAC for a while are noticing that some things are happening year after year after year. So that's why that idea of having a plan ahead of time to kind of resolve some of those issues, knowing that funding is tight, might help not have those things appear year after year after year. And I think that, I think that there were principals that came and just said, snow removal is a problem. It obviously has to be safe. So,
right.
Yeah, that's specific.
Mr. Wilburn, and Ms. Stevens, is it okay if I chime in? One of the examples too that, one of the things that we are doing, as you can imagine, I just think about plowing, shoveling my own driveway and the time it takes. And it's a 2-inch before we go ahead and go and plow all of our areas. So one of the things, the high schools, because of the large size of them, what we've done is we put out an RFP for snow plowing for just high schools. And now we have A1 Chip Seal, which is a company who comes in and does just 2 of our high schools. What that does is frees up our plows to be able to be put out to our other schools and deployed faster. And we're seeing a positive impact. We've just started this recently. But that's one of the examples that we're employing just to help with that better service and timeliness, especially when it's still actively snowing.
Another one on the list is removal of unusable portables, which I presume is talking about temporary buildings. If we have unused or unusables, there's probably some liability there. Do we know where and why these specific portables are deemed unusable? No heat, no air conditioning, roof leaks.
Sometimes it's just unusable because the school is choosing to not put a class in there and they're using it for storage or something else. Also, when that portable ages out, it could be there. And again, it's being used for a purpose that really could be handled by the building or something in terms of storing. So it's taking a look at those. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to be able to just move those to another site. There's more restrictions now on that. So it's really making that final decision to part with that particular portable and say, okay, we're definitely not going to need this because it really doesn't have a useful life elsewhere. It's something that really just gets moved off. And so it's that principle getting to that point of saying, I'm ready to let go of that portable.
Is there the existence of a count anywhere? Are we talking 2 or 3? Are we talking a dozen?
Of unusable, smaller.
Okay.
Many of our portables are used and in demand. It's some of our older schools where some have been there from early on. They're still used, but a final decision can be made to say, we're going to go ahead and take it out.
Okay. And one more, and Superintendent, maybe you know the answer to this. So the DAC identified LED lighting upgrades, and haven't paid attention to the movement of this legislation like I should. Is that something that we're mandated to have to do in the next couple of years regardless?
Remember the exact timeline, do you? When is that? I know that it is mandatory and it's legislative that we will have to replace all of our lights.
Okay, so we got a budget to get that done.
Yep. And we've already gotten some plans in place. We've talked with the state. And luckily, if we do have the fluorescent bulbs on hand, once we hit that cliff when you can no longer buy them, we can use them. So I will tell you, it doesn't sound really scientific, but we're kind of stockpiling some to have, just to help us not have to replace every fixture all at once. We'll also, as we look at Doug Valley and Air Academy, we will harvest those fluorescent bulbs and use them just to help as we put together a plan to address it in each one of our schools.
Ms. Cons.
I just want to, no questions. I just want to thank Erin Stevens for all of her hard work on DAC. And I want to thank, yes, okay. And I want to thank Shannon Hester too, who is here, who is our parent chair of DAC. She was just unanimously elected for her second 2-year term. So just both of you for your volunteer service and hard work on DAC. Thank you.
I was going to echo. Thank you, Ms. Stevens and Ms. Hester, for helping get all of this together. Appreciate all of your work. All right, next is the summer school programming for summer 24. Anyone have any questions or comments about the summer school programming? Ms. Cons.
I have notices popping up. I can't read my notes. Here we go. It's super exciting that we have so many more elementary school teachers and programs this summer. That was dramatic in the report. So thank you to all the teachers for
signing up to teach this summer. As a parent with both kids who did this, highly recommend the middle school band camp. Like, shocking how after 2 weeks, how your kids come out of there just with so many skills. It's so exciting. So just want to promote that. I had one question. I don't know. Thanks, Maureen. And I don't even know, it's just a comment. I'm asking if there was a typo. So I'm sorry you're walking all the way up, but in the middle school catalog for summer schools, I believe in the session that's at Timberview Middle School,
On the.
at the middle school catalog, and for the session that's at Timberview. Just my question was the fishing in the springs.
Fishing in the Springs, yes.
It says students will take a bus from Challenger. It was just confusing to me that it's at Timberview, but the bus from
Yeah.
Challenger.
It's probably a typo, but I will double check.
Thank you. I just want to make sure we're
Before the catalog opens up
good.
tomorrow.
Okay, good. Thank you. That was it. So thanks.
All right, thank you.
All right. Next is the annual monitoring report for governance process policy 4.14, electronic attendance and participation in school board meetings. Anyone have any questions or comments about that report? All right, we'll do the MRE. Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring report cycle? Do you see evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? All right. Next is item F, language revision, discussion of governance process policy 4.5, monitoring report, governance process and board superintendent relationship. Were there any questions or comments regarding that? All right. Item G, language revision, discussion of governance process policy 4.9, board agenda planning. Any questions, comments regarding that? All right. Board of Education meeting schedule for the 24-25 school year. Were there any questions or comments regarding that? So the only thing I was going to mention was we got an email from the community mentioning that we had a couple meetings that were overlapping parent-teacher conferences. And so I'm just going to ask if we can take a look into that before we approve the schedule.
Yes, so we can bring that schedule back to you next time on the 18th, and we can just make sure that that isn't happening.
Thank you. All right. Next up, the moment Kyle's been waiting for. Presentations. We have the Aspen Valley Campus Big Picture Learning Update. Superintendent Haber.
Yes, would Principal Kyle Chamberlain come to the podium? And thank you, Dr. Smith. I know you've been working really. I'm super excited about this. When I got here, talked with Dr. Smith and Kyle Chamberlain, and they were really looking for like a framework to put in place to support the amazing work that's going on at Aspen Valley. I had a chance to experience the Big Picture program in my last district, and we were working with one of our innovative schools to put that in place, and was so impressed with the experiential learning piece, the partnership with the community. So I had a chance to meet with Principal Chamberlain when I first got here and just kind of bounced the idea off him, and he looked into it and then just ran with the ball. So I'm super excited for you, Principal Chamberlain.
He did tell me that this was a 2-hour presentation.
2 hours. So
He forgot the popcorn, so I told him he had to keep it to 20 minutes. So
it'll be less than 20 minutes. But yes, thank you to Mrs. Haber. It was I'm a first-year principal at Aspen Valley. For those of you who don't know a lot about Aspen Valley, we're a little alternative school. We serve about 150 students right down the hill, halfway down Chapel Hills Drive. We serve 8th through 12th grade students. Class size is less than 15. About 40% of our students are on some sort of a plan, a 504, gifted and talented IEP. We also serve the 22 students who are expelled from their, what we call the big school. They got uninvited for some behaviors or some activities. So we serve those students too in person on our campus. And so we have a very diverse school that serves the needs of a lot of meaningful students in our school. school district. And Ginger came to my school one of the first weeks we were kind of in session, and she took a look around and she said, "Have you ever heard of Big Picture Schools?" And I said, "I haven't." And I've worked in IB schools, I've worked in math, science magnet schools, I've worked in gifted and talented schools. And I think as I dug into this work and learning about Big Picture, there was no program I'd ever worked in that connected more with an entire student body than Big Picture. And so I brought a team of folks from Aspen Valley to Philadelphia to do some school visits and to attend a conference on Big Picture learning and Big Picture schools, to which about 3 hours into that, we said, this is us. This is who we are. This is how we should serve some of our most at-risk students in our school district. And so with that being said, I started to look around, and sure enough, there was some schools right here in the Pikes Peak region that are already Big Picture schools, and they're early in their journey. As Ginger was telling me about the program, I reached out to a colleague of mine who is the principal at Welty Education Center down in Fountain. And I said, "Have you ever heard of this Big Picture school thing?" He said, "Crazy you mention it. I was in Kansas City this summer at a training, and we're going to become a Big Picture school." So with that being said, I'm going to show you a 4-minute video here that kind of gives you the scope of what Big Picture schools and Big Picture learning does right here in Fountain, Colorado. So this is Cito Noon and his team. I coached hockey with Cito. Our boys played hockey together for many years. He's one of the best leaders I've ever been around. And so go for it, Tina.
The Education Center, we are investigating and diving into big picture learning for our young people.
We are really now implementing a structure that is truly alternative.
It's really just allowing young people an opportunity to learn about things that they want to learn about, things that they're interested in, their passions. Also, it's about sort of breaking the mold of learning has to happen in a building, because it doesn't. We want them to be exposed to things that maybe they wouldn't be if they were in a traditional setting, or their parents can't transport them. It's just providing young people an opportunity to see truly what the world is outside of these 4 walls and maybe outside of our small community.
So implementation year for us started with a new schedule. So we have a semi-traditional schedule, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday has 2 large advisory blocks. And in those advisories, students do everything from team building to culture building in our school, to then exploring who they are. And that's a concept within Big Picture that students really need to know who they are and their story, and be able to talk to that, so that when they do go out in the world now or as a graduate, they're confident in who they are. So students are doing projects around that. They're writing autobiographies, and then they're diving into interests. They could be around things they like to do, or it could be things they want to do in the future. Could be career related, could not be career related. The ultimate goal, however, is to get them engaged in something outside of school that would be a what's after high school kind of next step. So get them into internships, job shadows, so that when they walk away with a diploma, they actually kind of have a path where they're going, and maybe even a foot in the door as to what's next for them in the next step in life. If they don't know, for a lot of students, we will offer them a lot of leaving to learn experiences where they can get out and they can just go see what is available and what's out there, because sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And then from there, they do their independent kind of exploration with that, maybe with the help of their advisory teacher. Then they reach out to potential locations for job shadows. Then it would be, what do we look at for an internship? And those would hopefully be at least a semester long. Each quarter, no matter what they're doing in this cycle of learning, they give an exhibition of learning. So they get to present to their family, their peers, their instructors, their mentors out in the outside world. And that's how we're awarding right now elective credit. We are teaching in advisory too some of the critical skills, the skills that are the ones that are going to be lasting in what employers want in the future. So things like being problem solvers, communicators, having empathy. And that could come in the form of, how do you build an effective resume? How do you use email? We're just really excited about this endeavor that we're engaging in. It's really fun to see students light up, and family members too. We've heard from a lot that A lot of people say, where was this when I was a student? If we can bring anyone from the outside in or get students out to them, that's what we're trying to do. So if we could have folks come in, and if they want to do a 2 to 4 to 8 week mini unit here, like come in every Tuesday, Thursday in the afternoon for an hour each time, maybe lead some yoga or show how to build a bench, or I mean, whatever the skill may be, we certainly invite that. And then if anybody has any space and interest in having students come to them for whatever purpose, to job shadow, to internship, we'd love for them to reach out to us here at Welty.
So that's just a quick overview really of what big picture looks like in this particular school. And it's pretty translatable in a lot of other campuses. I think, you know, from my standpoint as a leader, I think it really connects to really the quote that President Salt brought to us today from Benjamin Franklin that says, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." And I think about our opportunity to build community partnerships. There's a huge need for employers in the Pikes Peak regions to start to build workforces that are engaged in real world work. And I can tell you as the principal of students who primarily have a disengagement with education, like there's a lot of kind of like trying to figure out the why do we have to learn all of this stuff? What I found is as we've started to get into this work and we've started to connect some kids with internship opportunities, is they come back from those and now they get it. They're like, it turns out that after going down to Phil Long Ford and meeting with those guys, like this, all this stuff matters. And now they're engaged in school. Now they want to graduate and they found this other gear for success. And so right now we are really in this kind of exploration stage of whether or not this is the right fit, the perfect fit, and whether or not the investment should be made for Aspen Valley students. So if you have any questions, you may certainly go for it.
Miss Inez.
I think I have some comments. I saw so many things in there. I mean, this is like PBL with community experts coming in. There's CTE elements to this with the internships. I heard a little IB in there with exhibition for parents and students, reminds me of 5th grade. Tell me, how do you do grading through this?
Yeah.
So is it a competency-based program?
No, and I mean, some schools do offer a competency based. Some schools are centers and not high schools, meaning they don't have to live to an SPF or student achievement. We're still a high school that believes in student achievement. We are still there to serve students and to give them the best quality education that we do in all of our Academy School District 20 schools. But I think for us, as Cito mentioned in this presentation, he said, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday are still real school essentially. Just to kind of break it down in that. We still go to math, we still go to social studies, we still do science, we still do all of those core classes that we need to do. Where we can kind of get creative is really around the elective credit. Those Tuesday, Thursday days that they do down at Welty, you know, they're offering elective credit for these leave to learn opportunities. These students write an autobiography over the course of their 4 years, really start to get to know themselves. We had an opportunity to visit during the exhibitions. There was a student who, while writing their autobiography, realized they had some Native American background in their family. And so they started to dig into Native American cooking and learning about their culture through food, and then served us food that was connected to their culture. Another student was talking about how they're really into photography and shared about how their interest in photography led them to an internship with the district's media specialist, who then in turn got them a real camera. And now they're just super engaged in learning. So we will still operate as a regular high school where high performance is expected. But I think for us is really looking at how do we engage these students at a different level.
You have a unique community and this is a unique opportunity. And I think it sounds so exciting and I want to get over there and see it.
Any other comments, board? Well, Mr. Chamberlain, I appreciate everything that you're doing over there at Aspen Valley. I know that you're going to make the right decision here. You've made we've had several conversations about some of the unique changes you're making, some, you know, really pushing the students. And I think you're doing a phenomenal job. So I appreciate your work over there.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, thanks. All right. Next is the annual monitoring report for ENDS 1.2 character. Superintendent Haber.
Yes, and Dr. Jim Smith.
Thank you. Nice job, Kyle. You know, like 14 years ago, I hired Kyle as a dean of students at Eagle View Middle School. So we've been together for a long time. I've regretted it many times, but good work. All right, good evening. I know you've had a chance to review the full ENDS 1.2 report, including the updated character audit that we started doing last year. Tonight, I'm going to share just some high-level findings from the ENDS 1.2 report. For compliance with E1.2, what that you saw in the report, all students will develop the qualities of character necessary to be exemplary citizens and positive contributors to society. And a minimum of 70% is the threshold on that. Now, I know as a board, you've talked about 70% being, is it too low? Is it something that we should look at advancing? That's just a conversation that's been going on for a while, and I'd encourage you to think about that moving forward. So as you're aware, we've used the character survey as a way of kind of showing compliance with E1.2 character. That data we farm and analyze with Hanover Research, and have done that for a number of years. Additionally, in the past, and hopefully you saw this in the packet, I have some narratives that we collect for each of the character traits. Those are my favorites, by the way. And the stories are specific to individual schools, but they represent the many exceptional things that are happening across the district. There were stories of courage and persistence, humility and excellence, affirming that we have outstanding students and exceptional staff and families who are tremendous partners. But while doing this work, we always start with our global end statement. All students will have the knowledge, skills, and character necessary for successful transition to the next level, and upon graduation, will be fully prepared for success, much like what Kyle was just talking about. So who takes the survey? All students in grades 4 through 12, all staff and all parents are invited to take the survey, and the questions are set on a 5-point Likert scale. So when we look at the summary of the findings, and there are a lot of findings, as you can imagine, and I hope you saw the 60-slide PowerPoint that was in the packet and all the different slices of the data. Overall, elementary students, parents, and staff have more favorable perceptions about students exemplifying all the character traits than do their secondary counterparts. This has been going on for many years, as you can see in the historic data. Both middle school and high school students' results are consistently similar, less optimistic than their elementary counterparts, with high school often being the lowest. This year's results overall represent perceptions of character across all groups, with many remaining relatively the same from last year to this year. Again, very consistent year after year. Parents and students have more positive perceptions than staff when it comes to perseverance, responsibility, respect, honesty, and compassion. This is kind of a combined view of different pieces of data, but around 85% students, parents, staff, and students in 2023 agree that students are active, thoughtful, engaged participants in their community and are helpful to others even when there's no adult around, or if the students are not their friends, and are willing to try new things even if they fail. Responses indicate opportunity in creating an academic climate that encourages students to take risk, to do their best, and to prioritize learning over achievement. When I thought about this in a different way, in other words, helping students to focus on their learning and trying new things, and not just focusing on grades or test scores, is critically important. Staff perception of character have consistently been less positive than students and parents' perceptions, but the difference was even more evident in 2023. This was most noticeable in the areas of respect, excellence, honesty, and integrity. So what are we thinking about for the future of E1.2 character? I do believe we're at a place and time where it does make sense to think about other data that is related to character and to ponder whether using a survey is the best approach for collecting data about character. This data, future data, might include volunteerism hours, attendance and truancy data, extracurricular participation, the percentage of students on track to graduate, among others. And I think you'll all also note that there's an alignment between this kind of data collection and the targets and metrics that are in our strategic plan. So as we work toward the final draft, I think we'll also need to think about the role of the portrait of a graduate in developing character and character education programs in E20. So that's kind of a high-level summary of all of that was on the packet. What questions do you have for me?
Board, Ms. Yanez.
That was one of the areas that I noticed for the 2023 data was the variance in the parent and student opinion versus staff. What do you think?
Yeah, my thinking on this is if you think about how many students staff members come in contact with every day versus how many students a parent comes in contact with or how many students a student comes in contact with. So I think the perception of character and character development is based on how many students are you perceiving every day? And teachers are seeing students in the classroom, in the hallway, in the lunchroom, and they're seeing hundreds, if not thousands, depending on the school each day, and kind of making that perception based on those interactions versus a parent who's going to have their student, maybe their student's friends, and to make their perception or build their perception off of.
Thank you.
Ms. Collins.
I just have a few general comments specific to our audit that you guys have been putting together for us the last couple years. Instilling and cultivating the character and IB traits is vastly different than social emotional learning. So I commend the schools that focus on a particular trait each day or month, which I've stated before, the elementary schools tend to do more. I think that is partially why those percentages are higher in the elementary school because it's focused on more. So I commend the schools that are recognizing student achievement in those character areas. Growing character through academic pursuits is not the same as recognizing and regulating emotions. Our schools can do both, but cannot conflate the two, especially in these audits, and simply pursue ruler trainings and SEL work in lieu of direct character development. So for example, excellence, one of our 10 character ends. We define it in your report, putting forth the best effort in their schoolwork. And that is outward and community focused while developing necessary work ethic for academic success. This is in stark contrast to a self-inward focus on naming emotions you feel on a particular day. There is something much bigger, a purpose grander to teaching excellence, citizenship, honesty in a community, rather than a focus on self-only with SEL. Self-awareness and self-management develops naturally when one focuses on their task at hand, school. And I just want to share an example. I had a high school student this week interview me to make my point of the difference and of the attention, what we want to manifest with our character training. So these questions were given by the teacher. And so the student asked me this question: what advice do you have for me/teenagers in general as we move into an uncertain future? My first answer was, stop telling kids that the future is uncertain and scary. I said, we need to tell the students to develop a sense of confidence, hope, personal responsibility, and excitement about the unlimited possibilities in their future.
All right, any other comments or questions? Thank you so much for the thank you. I appreciate the results here and what's going on. I really appreciate looking at beyond the survey data. I know that's been a conversation we've had for several years, so I'm really excited to see that's progressing, and I like the way that this kind of aligns with the role of the Portrait of the Graduate, the strategic plan that we have, and so we're kind of moving in the same direction in all of our efforts. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to make a reminder that we are not making claps or shouts or yahoos during the meeting, and especially during the public comment section. That continues. We will ask to clear the room. So next up, we have the MRE. Is the superintendent's interpretation of the policy reasonable? Is there sufficient evidence to determine compliance for each section? Are all sections in compliance? Recognition of exemplary performance or concerns regarding performance? Would you like to see additional or different evidence, or should any part of this policy be changed in the next monitoring cycle?
we're looking at making those changes. Dr. Smith and I've worked together to say the additional targets that we put into the strategic plan really align with some of the those elements that he outlined, like the ICAP and ninth grade on track and that. So we want to be able to use those elements for this next round, for this year, at this time next year, looking back to help measure character.
And Mr. Salt, also, just as a suggestion for future evidence, for the schools to be intentional about addressing how they're instilling the character ends instead of anything else, any other programs.
Thank you. And then finally, do you see any evidence which is extraneous or no longer necessary? All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Story, how many people have signed up to speak during public comment section number 1?
Tonight, we have 3 speakers signed up for section 1.
All right. The board welcomes the comments of our community members. Speakers must sign in prior to 1 p.m. via an online form, and they must limit their remarks to 2 minutes or less. In deference to ASD 20 students, students will be allowed to speak first during the first public comment section. Following any students, speakers who wish to comment on an agenda item will be called in order of their sign up. We greatly value all comments from the public, but in order to adhere to board policy and accomplish the work already on the agenda, the board will not be responding at the meeting. That goes for the superintendent as well. Speakers may offer appreciation for or criticism of school operations and programs as concern them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly, as they are personally responsible for any legal consequences attributable to their comments, including claims for defamation. Please keep in mind that students often attend board members, and that goes online as well. Speakers' remarks, therefore, should be suitable for an audience that includes kindergarten through 12th grade students, including no use of profanities or obscenities. Comments concerning personnel matters should be directed to the superintendent or board president in writing with your signature. Supplemental written materials can be given to the security guards, and they will be delivered to the board secretary. The board president will recognize each speaker, and consistent with GP 4.4, comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K-12 students, or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Again, that goes for clapping and shouting as well. Thank you for your cooperation. Ms. Story.
We're going to do this baseball style, so I'll name our first 3 speakers. Speaker number 1 is Jenny Diedrich, and then right after her is Maria Bergman, and then Catherine Chukas. Ms. Diedrich? Okay, moving right along. Maria Bergman? Catherine Chukas?
My name is Catherine Chukas. I live in the district. I'm an Air Academy parent. I'm the SAC chair. I really don't have much of a West Side animal update. The Bears have seemed to move on. But I did really want to comment about the lack of discussion about item 8G tonight. I did not hear anything and how it made sense, so I recommend that you not put it on the consent agenda for next meeting. You're making a big mistake by adopting this revision. If you read the document and put it in light of the calendar changes you're suggesting, please read point number 2 again. There is no way that you as a board can start planning in the month of July. You don't have a published work session. So maybe one person can do all of the planning, but jointly you cannot. Do you really want one person doing all of the planning? That's not why there's a board of 5 individuals. So really planning is starting in another month. Maybe it's August or maybe it's September, and that should be written into the revision document, the month the board actually starts planning. If you change it to August or September, that's a real problem in 2024 for you as a board. If you wait until August, you're going to miss key deadlines associated with matters if you want to put things in front of the voters in the November 2024 election. Typically, the things you put on are only about property tax issues, but you could put other things on the ballot as well. And given the superintendent's focus on the 2024-2025 budget for May and June, as she said yesterday in Parent Sounding Board, this is not something that would be discussed publicly until August, but that's going to be too late for the election. And if you refuse to convene between June 6th and August August 15th, this summer is really crucial for PISMIP and the Department of Defense. And that's the largest financial decision you as board members will be involved with in the next school year. It's a $160 million benefit to our district. But if you don't have meetings, you're not a part of it. I wish I could have been here during the superintendent's comments. I was told that it wasn't really for the public, and that's a shame because I'm an Air Academy parent. You guys are learning a little bit about PISMIP. We're all going to start learning more about it. As a lowly community member, I will start convening people about this too. It's going to be a disgrace if you're not involved with these decisions.
Thank you. All right. Next is Resolution 170-24, appropriation of capital project funds and contract award for removal of synthetic turf fields and replacement with sod grass at EMS and TMS.
Moved.
Second.
All right. Discussion, please. Ms. Allen.
Good evening again. Thank you for giving me some time to talk about this topic. Please know I received some questions about it, so I'm going to do my best to also integrate the answers to those, but I'm happy to take any questions that I don't hit at the end or at any time. So at the middle school level in District 20, 2 of our schools have turf fields, Timberview and Eagleview. They were installed back in 2010 and 2011. The rest of our middle schools just have grass fields, including Chinook Trail Middle School, which was just opened in 2019. Now, those fields at Timberview and Eagleview, they've outlived their useful life. Based on quality and the amount of use, typical life of artificial turf is about 10 to 12 years. Like carpeting, turf, you can kind of get cheap carpeting, right? No offense out there, but sometimes the terminology is builder grade. I don't know why that shouldn't be a low grade, but it's thin versus middle of the way versus really nice. Artificial turf is the same thing. It has a range of costs. The better it is, the longer it lasts. So as we looked at the fact that these 2 fields are ready for replacement, there was a lot of discussion and looking at pros and cons as to whether to have artificial turf or to replace it with sod grass and have natural grass. The decision was to go with the natural grass for 2 reasons. The first was to simply have the same phenomenon at all of our middle schools. The others all have grass fields, so to have something commensurate with Eagleview and Timberview. The other critical factor was the cost. So I want to just give an example in some concrete numbers to just wrap our heads around what artificial turf cost investment would look like. So the most recent turf fields that we replaced at the high school level were in 2020, and it was about $875,000 per field for the turf. Now, when we talk about cost escalation, or what we say inflation, if you will, in the construction world, it's the same for these turf fields, about 7% per year. So if we were to think about paying $875,000 for a turf field, it will last about 10 years. So in around 2030, you're looking at over $1.6 million to replace that particular field. So in contrast, if you take a look at the board item that I shared, to go ahead and remove the artificial turf from the field at Eagleview and Timberview, to go ahead and amend the soil, put the sod down, and also have an irrigation system that's underground. For each one of those sites, it's about $600,000, so $1.2 million in total. Now, that's not the only cost. We obviously have to water each year as well. There's about a 6-month period of watering from about May through October. We spend about $5,000 per month on water at a field, so about $30,000 for the year. So let's think about it. 10 years, we put in a field right now for $600,000 in terms of grass. We would pay about $30,000 over the life, $300,000 in watering over this next decade. But then when we get to the end of that decade, We're not sinking another 1.6 million into putting in artificial turf. The field is there. We continue with the watering commitment, but I hope that helps to kind of see what that cost is. Now, again, of course, we need to keep spending about $300,000 in watering over that 10-year mark. But again, we don't have a new investment at that point. So that was where we really landed, that it's a more cost-effective option for the middle schools. Now, as a side note, you might be wondering, Becky, how can you even ensure that you can water these fields with the watering restrictions that are in place? So the Colorado Springs Utilities Program, they have a WaterWise. You've probably seen it on TV. It's the one that we experience at our homes. You know, we could do 3 days a week, early morning or evening watering. Well, one of the things that are excluded from those particular requirements are called high-use sports fields. These 2 fields would count, just like some of our other similar fields in the district. Not all of our fields qualify, but these would. What that means is we can water as we need to. Now, we also, though, to qualify for that exemption, need to prove to them that we're going to be responsible owners. So it means we're going to do early morning, late evening watering. We have rain gauges, so if it rains heavily, we're cutting back on the watering. So I just want to let you know that right now, unless things were to dramatically change, this type of exemption is available not only to us, but these high-use sports fields throughout the city. So at that point, to procure the work, to go ahead and take care of removing the turf, soil amendments, the in-ground irrigation, and the sod, an RFP was put out, and that's a request for proposal. We always put that on a district website, and it's in a system called BidNet through the Rocky Mountain e-purchasing system. Why I'm going into a little bit more detail is, what you'll notice is we only had 2 proposals, and one of them was incomplete. So I wanted to let you know that that bid, that RFP package, actually was sent out to 524 vendors through that contracting system. 35 vendors, we can show, downloaded the RFP. We had 9 show up at the job walk where we walk the site and they get to see it. Only 2 people put the bids in, 2 companies, and 1 only put in a bid for the sod. And they said, we only do sod. But we needed the whole package. So we still had an evaluation team look, and Timberline was selected as the best value proposal. So what you have before you this evening, the way it works, as you know, any contract that's over $1 million, I do not have the authority, nor does our superintendent, to approve that. That's why any contracts over $1 million come to you for approval. So this one is in a not to exceed amount of 1.2 million. If you were to approve it, it does 2 things. It, 1, appropriates the $1.2 million in our capital projects fund. We do have that money there to pay for these projects. It also gives, you designate authority to us to sign this contract with Timberline. And before I take any questions, I just thought it was important that I mention high school turf fields for just a moment. I don't want viewers thinking or attendees thinking that we would have plans when our existing artificial turf fields at the high school, when they need to be replaced, there is no plan to transition them to grass fields for 2 reasons. One is they get too much activity, and the grass wouldn't hold up to that. They're high volume locations. Secondly, most high schools that we compete against are used to playing on our artificial turf. It would be a disadvantage to our high school athletes if we had them train on grass fields and then consistently compete on artificial turf. Do you have any questions for me?
Ms. Cons.
Just one I thought of, Miss Allen, with the sprinkler systems.
Yes.
Is there no existing infrastructure left from sod?
There was not. And I will tell you, I had my fingers crossed when we were talking about it, hoping that an irrigation system was in play, but they were not.
It's like crossing your fingers that you have hardwood floors under your leg.
That's exact. When you rip up, that's exactly it. When I rip up this carpeting, when I move into this house I just bought, please let there be hardwood floors. In this time, we saw old vinyl. Okay, orange vinyl. That's what we saw.
Any other questions? Mr. Wilburn.
So something you said about the bid process confused me. So you said
Yes.
one company submitted a bid and it was incomplete. The other company submitted a bid and all they do is turf.
Oh,
So
no, the one that, and I should have explained that better. I apologize. The one that was incomplete was the one who only does
that
the
is,
sod.
okay.
So
We
the
have
ti-
one vendor.
So, yes, so Timberline, they submitted a complete proposal and again, through all of our checks, selected them.
Any other questions, board? Okay, thank you, Ms. Allen.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cons,
Aye.
Mrs. Shandy,
Aye.
Mr. Wilburn,
Aye.
Mrs. Yanez,
Aye.
Mr. Salt,
Aye. All right, next is resolution 17124. I need a resolution that the Board of Education for Academy District 20 does not accept the reconsideration of the book This One Summer in the Challenger Middle School Library and will not hear the appeal.
Moved.
Second.
Discussion, please. Ms. Shandy?
This decision to hear or not hear the challenge is exactly the process that we have given our community to use. If we don't like this process, we don't like doing this, then when we think it's inefficient or it takes away from focusing our time and money on student outcomes, then we need to make directives that change the policy or make board policy. Until then, I think it's our duty to shoulder the responsibility of hearing the challenge brought before us. That's why I think we need to hear it.
Ms. Yanez?
This is hard because this is our time to talk about this. And I sit right in the middle and I don't get to see all of your faces, but I wrote this down, and so I'm going to be looking both sideways here to speak to you guys. So since the last meeting, I've met with several people disappointed with the way in which I voted during the last book challenge. I've also met with those who are truly exhausted by the extremes this district finds itself in. I think we all seek real problem solving and not the literal finger pointing that we have accepted as commonplace in the boardroom today. I am always willing to listen and hear and learn from differing perspectives, but my stance has not changed and my vote remains the same, and so I want to explain to you guys why. So currently there are 1,400 plus books that may come forth as formal book challenges. This actual number and the continued intention of bringing them forward were both verbally confirmed to me just this week. Board, I put that in there, so I'm continuing to address you. As you know, each book challenge starts at the building level and takes approximately 4 months to reach us, give or take. So I did some math, which is dangerous because I was an English teacher. According to this 1-by-1 strategy and with a list of 1,400 books, we'll be done hearing book challenges in approximately 467 years. And that's without the consideration of any newly published books that find their way into our libraries. Thankfully, our board terms only seem like 467 years long. Given this, I'd also like to review the information that I asked for regarding building level challenges. And thank you to those of you that answered all of my questions rapid fire. I appreciate you. At the building level, each singular book challenge takes the following number of hours from the following individuals. District librarians spend anywhere between 21 and 29 hours. Principals spend just under 5 hours. Other principals, I think assistant principals, I might have made a typo there, from 2 or more schools, spend 1 to 2 hours each. 8 committee members are selected. 1 is a non-voting member, and they spend between 8.5 and 16.5 hours each. Then there's a learning services designee who also spends about the same time as the principal, 4.75 hours. So cumulatively, and on the low side of this estimate, 1 building level book challenge takes 100 hours, or it fills 2.5 40-hour work weeks. This strategy to affect change in how our library collections are curated is both ineffective and inefficient. However, focusing on an administrative process that is fair, effective, intentional, enforced, and that outlasts this board or any other board for that matter is the most prudent approach that I can see. I'd like to propose another work session for the board to further discuss several possible changes that I believe will strengthen the overall process, that will build bridges, not break trust, and return real dialogue back into our buildings. The two changes I propose are as follows. And Tacey, you might have to correct me on this one. So this is the way I currently understand it. Yeah, stay tuned. Currently, committee members are now rating their personal views on library material acquisition after being chosen. If we did this prior to the selection of the committee, so they're doing it as I'm understanding while they're reading the book. But if we did this prior to the selection of the committee, we show a real commitment to balanced committees. One of the complaints I've heard about at the building level is that there aren't enough people even volunteering for committees. But if people with a certain viewpoint only sign up to do this work, so be it. I think at least we've offered the option to all in good faith. Secondly, parents want to be able to choose what their own students have access to. I'd like to look at maintaining all parents' rights through permissions. Each year we digitally, sorry, I'm starting to talk to other people too. I'm talking to you. Each year we digitally sign permissions for our students in IC when we toggle to a yes or a no. Things like I remember, can your children be in photographs and that kind of thing. I haven't done it in a minute, but taking the young adult permission process from being a building level opt-out to a yearly IC opt-in process continues to support all parents' rights and continues access to the materials in the library of their own choosing. These changes are reasonable, not reactive. They're prudent and not partisan. They're measured, and I think they may actually move our conversations back to the real work of a school board, which is, in fact, student outcomes.
Other comments, board? I would just like to also acknowledge the fact that I believe this is a YA book, and so we already have policy in place and protocols to restrict YA books. And so parents have the opportunity to opt their students into YA, but as an opt-in process, not an opt-out process. If that is, please, absolutely.
Okay, so first, Lauren, to your point of rating themselves on a scale, is that working? Yes. Yes, for the last book challenge, they rated themselves after because we didn't implement that until we had already chosen the committee. So we thought, let's just see the current committee that we chose. But the plan moving forward is they would, like we would try to, you know, the principals who are selecting folks or asking folks to be a part of it, we would ask them to fill it out ahead of time. And to your point, we don't have a huge number signing up in droves to do it, but we would have them do it ahead of time and then try to choose a balanced committee to the best of our ability. So that is definitely moving forward, they would do it ahead of time before they're selected. Right. And then we are working on what you just said about the policy where families could at the beginning of the year when they do, you know, give permission for photographs, that this would be a part of that piece, is that they would be able to select to opt in or out of YA. We have a lot to work through with that because of things like access to the Pikes Peak District Library and how parents need to understand what that means when they opt out, right? And currently our practice is in all of our schools, parents, except for one middle school right now, they were trying an opt-in, but most of our schools are opt-outs right now. So they would select if they don't want their students to check out YA books.
Thank you. And little inside baseball on the whole Pikes Peak Library thing. We're currently putting out an RFP to change the ILS and the library system that runs the library. And part of that would be additional parental controls over what access is available and not available. And so it's going to really give more power to parents to choose how their students are able to access materials early in the process because we're just getting the RFP out. But that, so to your point, there might be some changes to the way that PowerPass works and additional restrictions to student cards in the future.
Great.
All right, thank you.
I just want to say that's good news. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm excited to hear that one of our middle schools already has an opt-in because I've been advocating for that recently and I really want to pursue that option.
All right, board, any other comments? All right, roll call, and just so everyone's aware, a yes vote here is to not hear the appeal, a no vote would be to turn down this resolution.
Mrs. Cons,
Yes.
Mrs. Shandy,
No.
Mr. Wilburn,
No.
Mrs. Yanez,
Yes.
Mr. Salt,
Yes. All right. Ms. Story, how many people have signed up to speak during public comment section number 2?
In section 2, we have 12 people signed up.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and read this blurb again. The board welcomes the comments of our community members. Speakers must sign in prior to 1 p.m. via an online form, and they must limit their remarks to 2 minutes or less. In deference to ASD 20 students, students will be allowed to speak first during the first public comment section. Following any students, speakers who wish to comment on an agenda item will be called in order of their sign up. We greatly value all comments from the public, but in order to adhere to board policy and accomplish the work already on the agenda, the board nor the superintendent will be responding this evening. Speakers may offer appreciation for or criticism of school operations and programs as concern them, but are encouraged to exercise their speech rights responsibly, as they are personally responsible for any legal consequences attributable to their comments, including claims for defamation. Please keep in mind that students often attend board meetings. Speakers' remarks therefore should be suitable for an audience that includes kindergarten through 12th grade students, including no use of profanities or obscenities. Comments concerning personnel matters should be directed to the superintendent or board president in writing with your signature. Supplemental written materials can be given to the security guards, and they will be delivered to the board secretary. The board president will recognize each speaker, and consistent with GP 4.4, comments will be curtailed if remarks or behavior becomes inappropriate. The board president may interrupt, warn, or terminate a speaker's statement that is unrelated to the business of the school district, inappropriate for K-12 students, or disruptive to an orderly, civil, and productive meeting. Thank you for your cooperation.
Much like the first time, we will also do baseball style. So first up, we have Larry Roa, followed by Jeremy Beckman, and then David DeFranco.
Sheep, sheepdogs, and wolves. That's how I look at school security. Sheep. We don't have any problems at District 20. This said at a meeting where they just announced that a trans terrorist wannabe had been stopped from attacking 3 District 20 schools. Well, the police are going to show up. They're going to give us fast response. They're going to be able to stop the problem. Columbine, Parkland, Uvalde. Those schools didn't make me feel like I have a good feeling that they're going to show up in time. Now, to be fair, I do have to say that there were 2 schools that I found that they did show up. That was in Nashville, where the police responded and were able to terminate the trans shooter involved in that one in a timely basis. The other one was here in Colorado at Highlands Ranch. Now, this one was a little unusual because the person that actually I credit with stopping it was a student sheepdog. That student went up there and stopped the shooter, was shot by the shooter, and died. But it showed the courage, and that 2 other people that rushed forward at the same time were able to subdue the shooter. Now, in all these first 3 cases that I showed for schools, the teachers that were shot and killed, or staff, were unarmed sheepdogs. Even though they weren't armed, they still put their lives on the line to go up there and to help those students get out or to protect the students. Now, it was proposed at that meeting that we go up there and give training to teachers to be armed. Not every teacher, just those ones that I've.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Our next speaker is Jeremy Beckman, followed by David DeFranco and Donna LaBelle.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Beckman. I'm a parent, a teacher, and will be speaking on behalf of my own personal children today in Academy Education Association. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Jim Smith for his distinguished service to Academy District 20 over his career and wish him the very best in his future endeavors at Vanguard. Often we talk about problems that we have no control over funding outside of District 20. But today I want to call the board's attention to the action on a problem that is within our total sphere of influence. I'm going to come right out and ask the board for something. Please vote against accepting EL 2.7's compliance in the interpretation submitted today and send it back to be rewritten to reflect the realities of the needs of Academy District 20 today. Furthermore, the interpretation of this is dividing our staff, not putting our students' needs first, and is hurting our standing within our community. First, ladies and gentlemen, some math. Simply comparing our minimum salary for policy consideration is creating a district that is only compliant for this policy with brand new teachers. As Tom LaValle sat in that chair and asked numerous times, why are we not using the average? Can I get the average salary of an Academy District 20 teacher? So if I could ask the board today, as I'm reading the rest of this part, please look over the comparison groups for this policy. Secondly, this is dividing our district by giving an interpretation that has two dramatically different economic worlds. One with administrative salaries that compare to the top paying districts in our state like Cherry Creek and Boulder, while teacher salaries are in a comparison group that is nowhere close. The administration comparison group has 10 of the top 20 paying districts in the state of Colorado. The teacher group has exactly 0. Does this match the desire of taxpayers in our district? Does it match the desire of parents in our district? No way. Please send this policy back to the district to create a fair playing field that is an equal area of comparison. And second, the reality of District 20 is we are hurting for teachers. There are 134 licensed teacher jobs open today, but only 4.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Our next speaker is David DeFranco, followed by Donna LaBelle, and then Tim Hoffman.
Good evening. Hello again. I'm here to talk about sex education again. Woohoo. Just what I wanted to do tonight. So the district loves to talk about parent rights. You guys talk about parent rights all the time. Parent rights, parent choice, parent rights, parent choice. I'm starting to feel like you guys are using an alternative dictionary from what I know. I feel like you're bending over backwards to appease one group and completely shutting out another group. As a reminder, the school district brings in a third party to teach sex ed in D20. We do that today. You bring in Life Network to teach an abstinence-based sex education curriculum to our students. Parents, we have a choice, yes or no, that's it. Please, this board, please consider offering another choice to the families of District 20. Please consider bringing in another vendor to provide evidence-based sex ed. I've lived in Colorado Springs for a long time, and I know there are plenty of people in this community who are just fine with abstinence-based sex education. And I also know that there are a lot of us who really want evidence-based sex ed for our kids to set them up for life as best as we can. So please as a board, consider adding a vendor to the schools for sex education so that we can have a choice. Abstinence-based, evidence-based. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Donna LaBelle, followed by Tim Hoffman, and then Heather Cloninger.
Thank you. My name is Donna LaBelle, and I would like to share testimony that I will be giving next Wednesday before an education committee at the House in the Capitol. At roughly age 10, kids' brains start waking up to social rewards. Brain receptors start multiplying, specifically the ones for oxytocin and dopamine, the feel-good receptors. Peer pressure becomes a major part of their lives, as many parents know. Couple this with the discovery made by naturalist Konrad Lorenz. He found that baby geese break out of their shell. They become attached to the first moving thing they see. He called this phenomenon imprinting. After further research, it was discovered that humans have a similar characteristic called anchoring. To summarize briefly, the order that something is presented to people plays an enormous part in what they gravitate towards. As an example, a mixed list of positive and negative qualities was used to describe a person. When the positive ones were listed first, the overall impression was positive, no matter how negatively that person was described subsequently, and vice versa. If the first descriptive words were negative, all following positive adjectives were much less effective at dispelling an overall negative view of that person. All this to say that it is extremely important what kids are exposed to, and manipulation, intentional or innocent, should be avoided at all costs. Let's give our children facts and let them decide how they respond without outside influence. It's hard enough being a teenager or a child, the way I remember it. It is our responsibility to protect our children from harmful content and extremely important to have safeguards in place. Let's protect our kids in every way, like the irreplaceable treasure that each one is. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tim Hoffman, followed by Heather Cloninger, and then Brett Dayberry.
I recently heard that some of you guys were in mourning with the Lord over the board's refusal to uphold an appeal on a requested book ban. Coming hot off a Holy Week, I spent some time contemplating the things that the Lord might actually mourn. Proverbs 12:22 emphatically states lying lips are an abomination to the Lord. I'm guessing lying to corporations, the government, the community, and oneself while plagiarizing is something the Lord would mourn with you. 1 Peter verse 2 says, so then stop doing anything to hurt others. Don't lie anymore and stop trying to fool people. I bet the Lord would mourn those pages of transcripts from things like Discord chats and podcasts that regularly engaged in the act of disparaging others. Psalm 11:5 reads, the Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence. I bet there'd be some mourning around the blatant calls for physical violence against the members of the community, the doxing of parents, and subtle allusions to their harm. Matthew 18:6 makes a pretty big statement when it says, if anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, it'd be better to have a millstone hung around their neck and drown in the depths of the sea. I think it's clear he'd be mourning with you over the public reading of out of context material in front of young children, inviting young children to crawl all over a grown adult, and putting minor children at risk by sharing their info online. Finally, and maybe most importantly, Exodus 20 verse 7 commands, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Another translation says, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord. I think it's a safe assumption that the misuse of his name to propel an agenda forward, to guilt people into submission, or even to claim grievance over ridiculous things like banning a book would probably cause him to mourn. Legislative morality is something I can't find reference to much in that divinely inspired book. In fact, the thing I see mostly is the push towards a choice. Anything else reeks of pharisaical behavior. I think we'd agree that the thing God would mourn most with you is looking like the Pharisees. So let's work harder to not do that. Finally, and to stay on theme, Matthew 18 says, if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault. So I adamantly urge you to seek the voluntary resignation of the board members not qualified or fit for the rules by their very own religious standards that they hold. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Heather Cloninger, followed by Brett Dayberry, and then Laura Matisek.
Good evening. It saddens me to come back here tonight to a place I barely recognize. For many of us in this audience, ASD 20 holds a special place in our hearts. It's where we have raised our families and where we have volunteered countless hours to help our beloved teachers educate our children. For others, it seems some of you are here to set personal agendas and are moved by political motivation. We have lost and keep losing exceptional educators and staff. Please consider working with our teachers, many of whom are afraid to speak out of fear of retaliation by leaders in this very room. They deserve to be paid more, and it's clear in this district what our teachers are making versus some of the much higher incomes in this building. You don't have to agree with me. You don't even have to like me, but you do have to listen to me because I'm one of your constituents. In a time where we seem to be divided as ever, you seem to want to make things less transparent and even less communication. Having been on the inside, I know what the ins and outs are of your role intricately. And I'm very concerned for the fear-based leadership that is happening, so please stop. I would be remiss again if I didn't acknowledge a man in this room who I think has been treated, in my opinion, poorly. It is with great personal sadness I say goodbye to another great educator and friend, Dr. Jim Smith. Your kindness and thoughtful leadership, as well as your wicked sense of humor, will be missed greatly. And I have a bag of goodies here for you to enjoy, one which includes orzo salad that you were known for in all of our DAC days. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Brett Dayberry, followed by Laura Matisek, and then Jennifer Bergstrom. Moving on. Oh, never mind.
I gotta ask first, before I start, is the word bleep okay for kindergartners?
I will allow that.
I want to publicly thank Derek and Amy for standing in the gap regarding the book review for This Book is Gay at the last board meeting. Thank you. As for the rest of you, what the bleep? Lauren and Nicole, you alluded to the First Amendment. I suggest both of you review Roth versus United States and Miller versus California. Obscene material is not covered by the First Amendment. Integrity means doing the right thing. Full stop. I call on this board to stop focusing on politics and potential lawsuits. How about you focus on what's right for the kids? Let me repeat that. How about you focus on what is right for the kids? That's the decision. As Luke 17:2 reads, it would be better for them to be thrown into the sea with a millstone tied around their neck than to cause one of these ones to stumble. As for you, Aaron, I am livid. Roughly 3 months ago, you and I discussed this issue. You asked that I give you 3 months, your time frame, not mine. But 3 months to prove the actions would be taken to begin to fix the book issue. At the last board meeting, you had that chance. And yet the deciding vote, your actions decided to allow the book, This Book is Gay, to remain in the libraries. You didn't even have the courage to make a single comment. Personally, I make a point to give people the benefit of the doubt. But when someone has removed all doubt, as you have, it's game on. I will continue to speak out against your leadership at every opportunity, and I will do everything in my power to keep you from being reelected to this board. Mr. Salt, the students of D20 deserve better than what you are giving them.
Our next speaker is Laura Matisik, followed by Jennifer Bergstrom, and then Catherine Gale. No Laura? Okay. Next up is Jennifer Bergstrom, then Catherine Gale, then Susie Bauer.
Sorry, I'm short. My name is Jennifer Bergstrom. I'm a District 20 parent and a resident. I have a couple of quick points I'd like to touch on this evening. I understand the plan is to reduce Board of Education meetings down to once a month. I also understand that the new process with written reports is that the board members review the information individually, and there's now no discussion unless there's a specific question from the board. All of this may meet minimum requirements, but it's hardly best practice, and it does not provide the level of transparency I would expect from District 20. Cost is being claimed as one of the reasons for necessitating this change, but since the board budget was not actually discussed at the previous meeting, the public has no way of learning about the nuances of the new board budget. This ongoing lack of transparency does not foster trust. On the subject of revising policy, board, I encourage you all to revise EL 2.7.3. Our teachers deserve fair pay. Administrator salaries are linked to professional market, which is assessed at the state level. In contrast, teacher salaries are linked to geographic market, which includes El Paso County and other traditionally poorer paying school districts. Of the list of districts used to determine our geographic market for teachers, not a single one of them ranked in the top 20 of the state's highest paying districts. However, for administrator pay, 10 of the 20 highest paid districts in determining salaries for the administrators. If we want to maintain a high educational expectation, we must also pay our teachers fairly. And finally, I want to encourage you all to remember why we're here. I want to do a quick shout out. It's theater season. Sister Act is playing at Rampart, or being performed at Rampart, April 18th, 19th, and 20th. And next week, Wonka is at Pine Creek and Curtains is at Liberty, running the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Come support our students.
Our next speaker is Catherine Gale, followed by Susie Bauer, and then Jim Robertson.
Hello, I'm Catherine Gale, ASD 20 parent, ASD 20 resident, lawyer, former teacher in Fairfax County, Virginia. Education is the key that unlocks the golden door to freedom. George Washington Carver. I think we all need to remember that politics aside, we're here for positive outcomes for our children, for their education. Today, coincidentally, is also the National School Librarian Day. So I'd like to shout out to the school librarians from when I was a child that helped me advance to where I became, and to the school librarians who have befriended my children along the way. On the US citizenship test, there's a question about why was Benjamin Franklin significant? One of the answers is that he started the first public libraries. He said, libraries have improved the general conversation of Americans. They've made the common tradesmen and farmers as intelligent as most gentlemen from other countries. So again, library is important, and thank you to the school librarians. Quick edit, I've given you seminars on the First Amendment, and with President Salt's advisory that we could be sued for defamation, he said we can talk about school board policies, but we can also talk about each and every one of you, your elected officials. So unless we knowingly state something that is false, we cannot be sued for defamation. President Salt said to me that that advisory is so that we don't slander members of the audience. That's true, but that's not part of his advisory. So carrying on your short course in law today is something called course of dealing, which is a sequence of conduct in previous meetings, which can reasonably be seen as evidence of understanding between the parties. I think most people in this room were shocked that when the audience applauded, only applauded, no whistles, no catcalls.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Susie Bauer, followed by Jim Robertson. No Susie. Jim Robertson, you're up.
Good evening, Board Superintendent. Jim Robertson, District 20 parent of former students and resident. So to beat the book challenge dead horse a little bit more, what is on our side? And I say our side as in your side, because I'm feeling that we have a fear of things that really shouldn't be afraid of. First Amendment is with you. The Supreme Court has ruled that obscenity is not covered by the First Amendment, is never intended to protect obscenity in cases such as that we are in now. Other state cases, case law is with you. Countless examples are out there. Colorado state law is with you. CRS section 2232-110, Board of Education specific powers, quote, the board has the power to exclude from each school and school library any books, magazines, papers, or other public publications which, in the judgment of the school board, are of immoral or pernicious nature. CRS 18-7-102. The promotion or wholesale promotion of obscenity to a minor child in Colorado is a Class 6 felony. If convicted, you'll be facing 1 year to 18 months in prison, blah, blah, blah. The vast majority of the local community is with you, as evident by the election. Morality, common sense, decency is with you. Doing the right thing for our kids is with you. Above all, Almighty God is with you. So what is against you? Time is against you. The window is closing on the opportunity to take full advantage of your conservative values, what you ran on, what you were elected for. This year, the Colorado State Legislature is coming after us, and they're coming after us hard, and let us not let it happen. I ask for your courage.
Thank you.
That concludes our speakers for this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Story. Superintendent Haber, do you have any clarifications or next steps?
I do not.
Thank you. Board, was our business this evening focused on activities that promote and honor our mission statement, our belief statements, and our global end statement that reminds us that all students will have the knowledge, skills, and character necessary for successful transition to the next level, and upon graduation will be fully prepared for success? Did the board hear any information tonight that would require the review or revision of a policy?
I just want to note that Ms. Shandy mentioned looking into possible policy revisions, whether board or administrative, but just continue the discussion.
Okay.
And I think community members have raised a good point about reviewing policies related to pay. And I think it's perfectly legitimate for us to honor that and get that into the discussion.
All right. Ms. Yanez?
I too suggested that we have another work session related to the administrative library policy.
Thank you. Did the board hear information tonight that would require a new policy? Did the board hear information tonight that the board would like to include on a future agenda? Ms.
Yes.
Yanez?
Yes. Stop.
All right, we are at 39 attendees. And at this point, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.